All right, I am back. So let's see. Got my drawing glove. Alrighty. So, today, here I am deleting my stuff again. Yep, it's another day. So, once again, I'm going to try and, I guess that's what my, my next goal should be for these is, do it all in under an hour. I should probably put a little asterisk here that says all under an hour. Yeah. I guess some of the best scenes I've done so far have been ones where it's been like 1 to 2 hours working on a single scene. But yeah, it's a little tough on my schedule to spend 2.5 hours on a warm up. You know, it's not really a warm up at that point. It's basically just kind of work. By the way, I should do my introduction bit. All right, howdy. This is the Master Shots Volume 2 challenge. Whoa, it's a thing that I do in the morning. At least in the morning by my time. So, what is it, you may ask? It's, there's a book called Master Shots Volume 2, which was written by Christopher Kenworthy. It's a book about cinematography and different acting techniques and shot setups that you can have for scenes in movies. And so it provides like 110, 120 different variations on how to do a dialogue scene. And so then what I do is I have a little random dice generator where I roll dice to pick out a section from the book. And then I try to write and draw out a scene in a very short amount of time that is based off the parameters set by the dice rolls that correlate to the book. So hopefully that makes sense. And then usually I give a little bit of a mini lecture or something like that on the type of shot, what's being used. Okay. So, all right. I guess I better hop to it. Section 10.1. Let's see, what is it? Okay, this is solo move, which we've done before. And the last time we did it, it was still really confusing as to what the intent of it was in the book. Okay, so section 10.1, solo move. Let's see. See, this is a bad example if someone were to come here for the first time. Because this was one of the ones in the book where it actually doesn't quite make sense as to what it's describing. Give me a sec. Yeah, I might put this on pause. I need to actually see this one in motion in the movie. It uses a reference from the movie Juno, which I still have not seen. In the description of it in the book, doesn't really match up, in my opinion, in terms of like, doesn't really explain what makes it this type of shot or this type of acting moment. So we're gonna go to the next section that I rolled, which would be 7.1. 7.1 is spiral down, which is basically just using spiral staircases in acting. So everybody loves those. Yeah, that's basically it. Spiral down. All this is talking about is in acting, or a nice setup is using, staircases, because you can have characters at the top, like in an apartment building or any other kind of building. You can have a character up here, and you have a character here who might be trying to get through, and you can have characters technically like on the side of the staircase looking at someone like as they walk by on the spiral staircase. Yeah, this isn't really a specific type of basically this description in the book is talking about how you can utilize the spiral staircase or any kind of like staircase for a big building. There's lots of things you can use it for. But yeah, actually that's a pretty simple section. Just like, hey, use these staircases. They're pretty good. All right, I'm gonna roll a third section because I'm not gonna do section 10.1. And wow, what do you... Random dice generator today feels less than random. Okay. This one, section 4.1, is... Yeah, we did 10.1, we did 4.1. Now it's section... Okay. 10.1, 7.1, 4.1. Man. So, angle anchor. In the book, it is describing something that's used for like a group shot, where there's a lot of people, or with multiple actors. And this doesn't have to be done with a group setting, but it makes most sense to describe it as this. Okay, so let's say, for example, you have a scene with a whole bunch of characters, got a whole bunch of people. They're all chatting, and maybe they're plotting or something like that. And they're scheming. And you keep on cutting back and forth between these characters. So now this isn't the angle anchor. This is just I'm setting up the usefulness for why you would have an angle anchor. I imagine the movie 12 Angry Men probably does this. And here's a third person. And so what happens is, if you want to introduce someone who's outside of this group, what you can do is you can just kind of connect everyone in this group as one entity. So let's say someone's getting like really mad because they're arguing over something, and he yells. He's like, I hate this argument. It makes me so mad. The Empire is not chill. We shouldn't join it. And then what happens is someone off screen says something. And then he turns. And then we cut to this wide shot. And we see all these characters here also turning around. And this now introduces a new character who has just entered the room. And yeah, so kind of like that. So here's the door. And here's this guy who's just entering the room. And so essentially, this is what the book's describing here. I'll admit, I kind of maybe visually borrowed too much from the book. But yeah, so essentially, this sets up it helps set up the geography of the shot, of the whole scene and everything, to know like where's one character from another character. And it also kind of clumps these characters who are arguing into an entity, and then the new person who's entering into another entity. Because when we're cutting back and forth between all these characters here, they all feel like singular entities. But then when someone enters it, we need to differentiate that, hey, this is one group, this is another guy. And so what's going to happen is that probably, if this is a script, or if this were like a script in a movie, these characters will start to unify when they're asking questions about this guy, with whatever the heck he just said. I don't know what he said, but something pertinent to the plot. Yeah. By the way, that's all this is. The angle anchor, I'd say, is it's the camera that's sitting in between these two locations. That essentially that there's a certain logic to it in its positioning, that it's right in between the two locations. And so it's flipping back and forth. Cool. That's that. Oops. Okay. So yeah, not gonna do solo move, because we did that one before, and I really want to know what the proper usage of that is, because I still do not understand what the book's trying to describe on it. All right, cool. All right. This is a slow way to create a scene, but whatever. All right. Trying to think. What could this scene be about? Okay. I'm trying to think if it makes more sense to start with a scene that has an angle anchor first, or to start with a spiral down. You know, this could also be spiral up. It doesn't need to be spiral down. spiraling in some direction with a staircase. Sorry, I'm thinking. The reason I'm thinking about this is because this means a character, if we start with an angle anchor kind of scene, that means we need a group dialogue scene, which that's going to require a lot of drawing. Then what this means is that the character is probably leaving the scene. And so that's what we would do. If we start with 4.1 and go to 7.1, it'd probably be someone leaving a discussion. However, the alternative is, if we start with 7.1 and end with 4.1, what it is it's someone arriving to a scene. Okay. I can think of some funny things to do. All right. We're also going to... I think I'm going to do the... I know I haven't done this in a while, so apologies. This is also just stalling for time, I guess. I'm going to do this in thumbnail mode. Not thumbnail mode, but thumbnail drawing like this. The reason is because I have a feeling this is going to have a lot of cuts in it, in terms of there's going to, because of the group shot, there's going to need to be a lot of cutting, a lot of stuff happening in that. And the more cutting there is, the easier it is to do a scene like that from a thumbnail view, because you can keep track of the cuts and locations of characters in between cuts. The straight ahead storyboarding, where I do it from like ground view or whatever the heck you want to call it, that can be really good for doing tracking shots and doing action scenes intuitively, and just going with the flow and whatnot. But it is a lot worse for trying to track cuts and figure out like things like that. So sorry, give me a second. I'm doing this in a painfully slow way where I'm just duplicating all these en masse. And then I'll, let's see, what will I do? Okay, cool. So I'm going to try this. And so the reason why is because with the spiral staircase, however we're going to get there, I know I'm probably going to overdraw it. If I draw it straight ahead or straight through, I will probably draw every freaking panel of a character walking down the staircase or walking up it, and it's spiraling the whole way. And so that's, I want to avoid that. I want to avoid me overspending time on this. Now, alternatively, I might do something interesting where I'm curious if I could have done this. Huh. Does this work? Sorry, I'm thinking to myself now. Or not to myself, more out loud. Okay. Whatever. I'll worry about a filter afterwards. I'm just going to keep on doing this in the flats universe, just because like I don't actually have a fixed narrative for that universe or for those scenes when I do it in there. It's just, it's easier for me to work with those characters because it's kind of vague. Okay. I'm actually mentally getting ready now, so it's not much of a warm-up when I'm doing all this build-up. Under ideal circumstances, I would not spend, when I'm not streaming, it wouldn't take me this long to start. Okay. So, got my timer. So 3. Hold on. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm going. All right. So, hold on. Dang it, I'm not actually going. Give me a second. My microphone has moved. And it is right near my face. And I was about to hit my head into it. Okay, now I'm ready to go. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, we're going to have some kind of shot like this. There's people walking about, moving to and fro. Some kind of vehicle drives by. Something. There's a whole bunch of people in it. It's like a truck. You're just gonna have to imagine that this is a truck-like thing, and then it keeps on driving, but someone jumps out of the back of this truck. And so the truck drives off. See, this is why I said I'm drawing the thumbnail view, because I would have drawn every bit of acting here. As a character, you know, so we're eyeballing this character from some high vantage point. And then there's a staircase here. A very small staircase, not a huge staircase, but there's something. There's, I don't know, some characters leaning up against it, or some kind of shenanigans going on over here. And this character that we're eyeballing, who just got off this truck, is gonna walk this way. Maybe there's a fire pit. I don't know. Something's going on over here. There's maybe some kind of vendor over here. This character is walking up the staircase and looks kind of not too happy. And then they walk. They got their goggles on because everyone in this universe has goggles. His hair's all messy or something. And so he walks past the camera. The camera, you know, hands over because he's now walked past it. He's got some sort of gear on his back. Not in like a steroid sense, but like mechanical equipment. And there's like a door. There's someone standing by this door. Maybe we can vaguely hear yelling or something like that from here. And so he's going to go through that door. Man, this really is faster. I don't know why I keep on storyboarding in the other fashion. Goes to the store. And then what we're going to do is we're kind of repeating the same technique. He's going to enter through here. So he's kind of silhouetted. We're going to have pipes and stuff like that and different odds and ends, because in this universe, everything is very close to a machine. And what he's going to do is he's going to walk towards the camera again, but he's in the shadows. And so the door's behind him. He's going to walk up to the... He's going to enter the foreground. And then we can hear like yelling or something upstairs. We can hear some sort of like vague yelling. It's happening. You can see there's the beginning of another staircase. We can see maybe there's some other people who are sitting here. Maybe they're like people who live within the area. And they also are looking up and they can hear the yelling. And so everyone can hear something that's going on in this apartment building that's like built into a machine or whatever. And so I'm just going to copy that. And they're going to look over at him. Because they realize that he's probably going to go up there. That's probably his apartment, the one that's yelling. And then he's gonna, you know, he's gonna muster up some courage. And then he's gonna walk forward. Up the stairs. And then what we're going to do is, so we're continuously doing this type of shot, where, so we're gonna do this 3/4 first. So there's gonna be pipes here, and he's gonna be walking this way up this spiral staircase. And the reason for this is because I don't want him to be completely in line or centered, but we want him to be visually open. So I don't want too many pipes in the foreground yet, but we'll get there. So what's going to happen is right now he's kind of moving parallel to it. And so he's going to like look towards the sound as he's going up the staircase. And there's going to be an elbow in the path as he's going up it. And so the reason is because I don't want him to be directly center with the noise yet. And so once he passes this little foreground element, here, then we're going to do a cut. We're going to do a cut on that. And so it's going to look good. So right as he walks here, so he's kind of getting more in line. Now this honestly does not look like a spiral staircase. That's my fault. So then you see what we're going to do is we're going to cut on that. So we're going to do that foreground element. And we should, whatever the room is, it should be really high up. It shouldn't even be close to the floor he's on. Yeah, okay, there. So the room's up there. Maybe we see other people surrounding the room, sitting outside it. Sorry, nothing terrible is actually happening in there. This is supposed to be more comedic, but it's just very stressful. So there's people on the next floor. And because of the angle of him going up the stairs, he can't see the floor anymore. This is the underside of the floor above him. And so then now we're going to cut in closer to him. As he's going up the staircase. This should be a high angle. I'm trying to think what's the best way to frame this. Should he be at a 3/4? See, this is kind of weird because it's a high angle of whatever. I'm gonna have another foreground element, some pipe or something gets in the way because I don't want to draw this. And I kind of want to have this shot of his eye looking in between the pipes as he's going up here, because he kind of wants to be hidden, but he also knows he has to enter this room and settle whatever kind of fight or argument is going on in there. And we're going to use that to reveal him on the other end. Sorry, his head keeps on getting bigger in proportion to his body. It's just because I'm focusing more on his facial expressions. Then we're going to have another object in the foreground wipe him. And then I'm not going to do this whole sequence of him going up the stairs, so we're just going to cut to the top of the staircase. And we see other characters here that are sitting here, maybe minding their own business. This is the ledge. And we're going to have a little bit of a light source here. Because I don't know why. I just want something. Or maybe we need a big industrial fan. Yeah, big industrial fan. And that's the light source. So we can have moving shadows. It'll look really cool, but it's not something I can storyboard right now. Alright. So he's climbing up the staircase. He already knows what's going on. So he starts walking. Sorry, again, he has a big head because his head is not really that big, but here's the industrial fan. Actually, he should be walking 3/4 to us. So he should actually be moving closer to the camera. And then we're going to do the same thing as before. He's going to walk past the camera. And man, I actually should have gotten like a POV shot. Yeah, we're going to do a POV shot. We're going to do a POV shot of the door. You can see some other people in the background. And the door is going to get more and more centered. And those people are going to disappear because they are now less centered than the door. So here's the door, and he's getting close to it. And he isn't centered, but he's moving in towards the center. So we're cutting to his reaction. So I want to feel like he's homing in on this. So he's getting more and more centered. He's a little disturbed by the amount of yelling and arguing and complaining that he hears on the other side of this door. So we're going to kind of cut back a little bit wider. There should be music playing from in there too. I don't know, like an old gramophone or something like that. Maybe there's like trying to think. There needs to be a whole bunch of weird sounds coming from there. And I'm now making his jaw square because I don't know why. He sighs. He's like, why I gotta put up with this? He like puts his head against the door. Should be from a wider shot. So yeah, his head pops down. If we really want to be fun here, we'll have a high angle shot through the just wanted to just feel a little bit isolated before he enters the room. There's some sort of big thing that's happening in there. Maybe we can have another, ceiling fan or something like that. We can have pipes and stuff in the foreground. Actually the ceiling fan's nice because we can create a grid here. And we can have a light source that's moving across him. Oops, that brush is way too big. And we can have a light source that's moving across him. But then it can also feel like that there's something better outside because he's in the shadows. So yeah, this fan could be nice in terms of how it gets the themes of this moment in. Here's his head against the door, an extreme low angle, like wide angle shot. And then his hand enters the foreground while his head is still against the door. You're just gonna have to trust me on that. That's what that is. It's a hand moving. And then we're going to just cut to the door handle. In the sci-fi universe, they still use standard door handle conventions. It's very nice. They buy them from their local Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever the heck. Americana Dust Bowl, Home Depot. That is not a good door handle twisting drawing, but whatever. By the way, he walks through. And then we're going to have to go to that close-up shot of him. His eyebrows are furrowed. And he moves up and in, out of frame, because he's taking command. And so he walks off frame. And then we're going to have the door as it opens. I really kind of want to do a Quentin Tarantino thing where, like, there's just mass chaos and everything's happening quickly. Like, what is it? He does this every once in a while, and it's always really funny. Where, like, okay, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do the fast zoom out. Like, he literally does the sound effect when in his movies, where you can actually hear the whoosh sound effect. And so everything in here should be like mass chaos, and things are knocked over, and I don't know what. There's like fighting and commotion. There's a kid who's about to elbow another kid while in the air. Just some sort of mayhem is going on in here. Cutting to this kid. Here's his flying elbow. Here's another kid. Who gets elbowed directly in the face. Sorry, this is all very vague now. You're just gonna have to imagine. This is all gonna be like quick cuts. And then we're cutting over to another kid who's wrestling with something over here. And falls over onto the floor. Maybe they were trying to stack too many items or something. It's just mass chaos is happening everywhere. Something happened, and everyone's trying to fix a problem. So there's a mess everywhere. And this kid's trying to, I don't know what, cover their head from all the things that they accidentally just knocked over. And then that should reveal some kid who's just crying for some reason. Who knows why? They're sad about something. It's just something to add noise. Make this scene a lot more stressful. And this kid's just walking through all this chaos. Almost like it's a war zone. Or it's like a lone kid. And there's two brothers fighting or something over here in the background. And the kid just, walks through it, crying. It's kind of like that scene from, what is it, My Neighbor Totoro? Where there's the one girl who's just crying and walking around aimlessly. And then as she walks by, our main character, as he walked into the room, see, she walks away into, I don't know, to get some food off of a shelf or something. And our main character, he's just like, what the heck is going on in here? See, she's like climbed up onto a shelf to get some food while she's still crying at the same time. So she's about to start crying and eating at the same time. Let's see, I'm starting to mumble, I can tell. He just speaks. He's like, he doesn't say that much. Actually, hold on. I need to hold this drawing for a little bit longer, just for this joke to read. She jumps down with the food. Then he's gonna say something. Then everyone immediately, amidst all the chaos and, I don't know, blankets and knocked over items and everything, needs to be an extreme white shot. There's like a single window or something here. See, I don't know the layout of this room, like, at all. I just know that there's two kids fighting over here, some kid who's crying over here, someone knocked over a whole bunch of stuff. We'll just say that there's another person hidden here under something. Everything's a mess. Everyone looks over. They're like, oh, hey, you're home. Everyone's excited. They're like, yay. Something like that. Their character, he's kind of like, he's maybe a little annoyed, but taken aback. He expected maybe a bit more aggression. Oops, I forgot. shot of him. An axial cut. So that we can get some of this acting. So he's gonna close the door behind him. Maybe we can see some people behind him. And then, you can enter into the room. And then, I do not know where this scene goes after that, but my time is up. So, it actually went up a little bit ago, but I wanted to finish this. Okay. Well, that wasn't too bad. I do not think any of that would have gotten done in this short amount of time if I had not done this from this perspective. Okay, so what was our 2 goals? Have a spiral staircase in some shape or form. Yeah, that's basically it. Use a spiral staircase to have your character go up or down or have them interact with the characters. And then the other one was angle anchor, where you have a group of people who are fighting, talking, doing something else, and then have someone else enter in and use the camera as an in-between point between them. And so here's the scene. I'm gonna need to scroll in so you guys can actually like. I wish in this view there was something I could do. So what do we got? We got. We're looking at a whole bunch of people walking through a dusty path, and then like a truck pulls up, and you see someone jumps out the back of the truck. It's a character that we know, and they're walking. You know, there's a whole bunch of people gathered at the bottom of the staircase. This character's walking up the staircase. They walk past. See, here's the annoying part of this. It's scrubbing through here. I wish I could make my cursor bigger so you guys can like see what I'm pointing at. Either way, if I look past the camera, here's a door to the building. There's someone sitting there or standing there. They open the door, enter the shadows. Silhouetted pipes and noisy stuff. They're walking towards us, and they hear yelling upstairs. And there's a whole bunch of other people that can hear the yelling upstairs. And they realize, look over at this kid, and they realize that he's probably going to go up there. And he takes like a little breath or a moment of pause. He exits frame because he's going to venture further. So we see him walk up the staircase. We get from this angle. Where he's not directly in line with the door yet. And we use this little foreground object for him to walk by to motivate a cut here. And that's the door that he's going to. See, there's people gathered around it. He now can't see it anymore because he's underneath the next floor. He's walking. He walks. There's some pipes in the foreground, so we only see his eye, giving him a little look of apprehension. Does he really want to go further? He could just hide here. He walks around the pipes and he looks up and he continues. And we're now at the top of the staircase. Here's this little fan here. There can be more than one fan, but I just want this one here. People are looking at all this noise and we expect him to show up there. He shows up. He walks. He's walking 3/4 towards the camera. He walks past the camera. We cut into a POV as the door starts to become centered. So we're homing in on it. And now he's homing in on the door. We're kind of almost from the door's perspective right now. And then he pauses because he hears lots of noise and ruckus in there. Just sit here on the door for a couple seconds. It's like, ooh, what's behind there? He sighs. He puts his head against the door. It's like, he doesn't want to do this. And so now we're cutting to another ceiling fan with a light source behind it. creates this little ambiance and this moment of isolation for him, making him feel small and weak before he goes into the unknown chaos. His head's against the door, then his hand reaches up from that shot, grabs the door handle, twists it. I guess the door was unlocked. Oops, whatever. And then he lifts his head up off frame to show that he is still continuing to move forward and taking control of the shot and the scene. And then he opens up the door, and then we zoom out. And then we see mass chaos. Here's a kid flying through the air, about to elbow another kid in the face. And here's this kid who's getting elbowed in the face. But then as they hit and they're moving left to right, we then have an action of someone going right to left in another part of the room, falling over, and a whole bunch of things spill, and boom, 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 all the objects fall on them. And then we have this kid who's crying here, and their head's turning back and forth to create a kind of chaotic motion. And they're walking through this battlefield of knocked over stuff, and they walk past this like POV cam, and they're getting some food off of a shelf. They're climbing up a shelf, and now we have our main character in the foreground, and he sees this kid, probably his sister or something, who jumps down with food and is still crying while eating food. And he just says something. He's like, "Hey, I'm back." And then immediately everyone's like, "Oh, hey, you're back. Hey, that's nice." So all the chaos stops, and he sits there for a moment. He's like, okay. And then the camera cuts back just a little bit so we can see him close the door. And he closes the door, and he feels a little bit better about all this. It's all a bunch of chaos. At least they're not mad to see him. And really, there should be more shots to this, but that is enough. That got all the things I needed done. I got the angle anchor, and I got the spiral up and down. So, success. All right. Well, that'll be about it for today. Thank you all for dropping by, people who dropped by. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Hopefully my mic was better. You can actually hear me talk this time. Or if not, please let me know. See ya. Bye.